Whew, there have been many, many bold claims recently. One of them in particular has kind of taken the internet by storm, and that is that a 26-foot green anaconda was discovered, being the largest ever officially recorded. This rumor, of course, happened because a team of researchers from Australia went to the Amazon and they were doing different tests on a few different things. Now, it was also coinciding with a TV show from Will Smith. I believe it's called Pole to Pole. Basically, what happened was that these researchers went to the Amazon to do a study on how the environment is affecting certain animals, and in particular they were studying green anacondas. The bigger female green anacondas will eat larger things like caiman and capybara and a lot of the big stuff, but the males are a fraction of the size of the females, so they eat a lot more things like wading birds. And due to their change in diet, the wading birds tend to eat fish, and oftentimes fish are like it's like a direct osmosis of especially like heavy metals and stuff in the water or in the surrounding area. Fish tend to be the ones with highest concentrations, but then it goes up the food chain. As the birds eat it, the birds get a lot of this heavy metal in them, and as the snakes eat the birds, they tend to get more heavy metal. And if there is a difference between the male and the female anacondas, you can tell that a very specific thing that's causing the heavy metals to be in these animals. And that's actually what they found. But that's not what you hear when you hear about this study. The number one thing I've heard is that it was a 26-foot anaconda that was found. And a lot of these rumors came from an Instagram post. Now, what I would like to do with this video is to actually go over what the study itself said. And as you will see, when people were going off on me and telling me I was crazy for suggesting that the news was wrong and the guy, the original biologist who posted that it was a 26-foot long python was wrong, there's a reason for it. So where I'm at right now is directly on the University of Queensland website. We're going to go through this article and tell you exactly from the horse's mouth what they say about this situation. Giant new snake species identified in the Amazon. This is from February 20th, 2024. A team of scientists on location with the film crew in the remote Amazon have uncovered a previously undocumented species of green anaconda. Professor Brian Fry from the University of Queensland led a team which captured and studied several specimens of the newly named northern green anaconda, located in the Bameno region of Bahiwari Warani territory in Ecuadorian Amazon. Key points. A new giant anaconda species has been identified in the Amazon. The northern green anaconda was discovered during filming with National Geographic for their upcoming series Pole to Pole with Will Smith. Scientists say the anaconda's ecosystem is under threat and further research is urgently needed. All right, so that's the basics of it. Our team received a rare invitation to the Warani people from the Warani people to explore the region and collect samples from a population of anacondas, rumored to be the largest in existence, Professor Fry said. The indigenous hunters took us into the jungle on a 10-day expedition to search for these snakes, which they considered sacred. We paddled canoes down the river and were lucky enough to find several anacondas lurking in the shallows, lying in wait for prey. The size of these magnificent creatures was incredible. One female anaconda we encountered measured an astounding 6.3 meters long. All right, 6.3 meters long, the one they encountered. 6.3 meters to feet, that would be 20 feet. That's a big snake. It's not 26 feet. There are anecdotal reports from the Warani people of an anaconda in the area measuring more than 7.5 meters long and weighing around 500 kilograms. Seven and a half meters, 24 foot. A really big snake, not 26 feet long. This is directly from the University of Queensland, Australia. There are anecdotal, look at this word, anecdotal, which means people reported it. It's not proven. Reports from the Warani people of other anacondas in the area measuring more than 7.5 meters long. They didn't find a snake that big. They've reported that there are some potentially in the area. Professor Fry said that the northern anaconda species diverged from the southern green anaconda almost 10 million years ago, and they differ genetically by 5.5%. It's quite significant. To put it in perspective, humans differ from chimpanzees by only about 2%, he said. This discovery is the highlight of my career. Basically, that in and of itself is incredible. I don't understand how they're not talking about that. That 5.5% genetic divergence in a snake that looks exactly the same to the other species. They look exactly the same. Like, it's not until now. I mean, some people were like, well, these ones get bigger, so, you know, it's just a bigger variety of them, but it's the same thing. But, like, they're so genetically different that they are more genetically different than humans and chimpanzees are. And they split off from each other farther away than humans and chimpanzees split off from each other in bonobos. That in and of itself is the insane thing. Why isn't that being talked about? The new anaconda species was found while filming with National Geographic for their upcoming Disney Plus series Pull to Pull with Will Smith, on which Professor Fry, a National Geographic explorer, was the expedition's scientific leader. Our journey into the heart of the Amazon, facilitated by the invitation of the Warani chief Penti Behua, was a true cross-cultural endeavor, he said. That's awesome. I mean, I'm glad they did this like this. Like, they really did it the right way, and they found something incredible. The importance of our Warani collaborators is recognized with them being co-authors on the paper. That's awesome. Like, if you want to go in there and like do this scientific research and like not just go in and take the credit that other people have put in the work, like, that's a really big deal. They did things the right way. The scientists also set out to compare the genetics of the green anaconda with specimens collected elsewhere by world-leading anaconda expert Dr. Jesus Rivas from the New Mexico Highlands University, and use them as an indicator species for ecosystem health. Professor Fry said the Amazon continues to face alarming ecological threats. Deforestation of the Amazon basin from agricultural expansion has resulted in an estimated 20 to 31% habitat loss, which may impact up to 40% of its forest by 2050, he said. Upwards of 40% by 2050. That is insanity. Oh, iguana got. Another increasing problem is habitat degradation from land fragmentation, led by industrialized agriculture and heavy metal pollution associated with mining activities. Forest fires, drought, and climate change are also notable threats. These rare anacondas and the other species that share this remote ecosystem face significant challenges. Professor Fry said his next research project would focus on heavy metal pollution in the Amazon. It's not only these gigantic snakes that are facing environmental threats, but almost all living things in the region, he said. The diversity of a new species of anaconda is exciting, but it is critical to highlight the urgent need to further research these threatened species and the ecosystems. Of particular urgency is research into how petrochemicals from oil spills are affecting the fertility and reproductive biology of these rare snakes and other keystone species in the Amazon. This research paper is published in MDPI Diversity. Here's the actual study. And here, this guy right here, Freak Vonk. He's the guy who posted that Instagram post that everyone was freaking out about and claiming that I was a liar. And as you can see here, the northern species lives up here. This is the zone where the green anaconda contact zone. That's where both of these species meet up, and this is where the southern anaconda lives. Also, one of the things they did while they were down there was check the genes of yellow anaconda, because they are currently split up into 3 species, or I should say were. Our analysis indicate a poorly defined phylogenetic structure in the clade composed of E. nateus, E. deschantzii, and E. biniensis. Although specimens identified as ED and EB are found in well-supported clades, those identified as EN are not, and instead represent paraphyletic clade with ED and EB. Comparisons were made to relate morphology to genetic placement. One of the snakes captured in the Bolivian Beni has marks that best fit the description of ED, as indicated by the height of the lateral flex, which do not reach half the height of the snake. Basically, this goes into detail about how, like, none of the things that split them between species made any sense. And the last little bit, in addition, the 2 anacondas from Bolivia Beni had marks that would classify them as ED, while the phylogenetic analysis placed them within EB. Therefore, our results challenge the validity of the yellow anaconda being split into species. So currently, it's looking like, although there were 3 species of yellow anaconda, it might actually just be 1 species. So, like, that's a big deal in of itself. Added a green, took away 2 yellow. So to sum everything up with all of this, the news grabs onto headlines and it just blasts it out there, and then the rest of these organizations will grab onto the headlines and they're not looking into it. And if they do, they look at one thing. And in this case, they ran off of the Instagram post from one of the scientists who were there. And because he was there, it just blew everything into this whole, like, this is the way it is. But if you read the actual study and look at what the study said, it is clear that scientists made a mistake. He changed it. The Instagram post doesn't read that it was 26 foot anymore. I wish I had a screenshot of it when it did, but it's kind of died down now, and now everyone's going to be like, it was a 26-foot python. That's what is going to be in people's minds, even though it wasn't the case. So the number one thing I could say about all of this is that before people jump to conclusions on things, it's very important to actually look into it. And just because the news says something doesn't necessarily mean it's true, because they could be getting their sources from something that isn't true in and of itself. And that's the problem. It's like the average person isn't going to look into this. And I mean, shoot, I make mistakes too. And I'm trying my best to do better at that and trying to look into things before I make any claims. And if I do make claims, because I've tried my best to look into it rather than just through one source. And if I'm not sure on something, I try at least to be like, I don't know, we got to see what happens, but this is interesting. Instead of just saying this is the way it is, because who freaking knows at this point. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you like this. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think about this down below, and I'll see you on the next one.